Hello and welcome to today's episode. We're very excited because we have a special guest for you to teach us about the secrets of stage magic and how they apply to coin magic. So let Mr. Jeff introduce us. Jeff, key it off for us.
I'll kiss off. We've got here in the prime seat today, Mr. Scott Robinson.
Hi, everybody.
There he is, man. I'll give a quick introduction. This man should need no introduction. He's been a contributor to Steve Beam's amazing semi-automatic card magic and all those publications. Underground legend, great creator, thinker, runs the Tricks Convention in Carolina, and has a best-selling book with Vanishing Ink called Pure Imagination, which should be on your bookshelf. It's a great thing, great work of art. There's incredible stuff. The thing I want to get to, though, those are all the accolades, and I'm sure there's some awards I'm unaware of, is Scott Robinson is an incredible human being. He is a mentor to me. Back in the day, he sought me out and told me how my magic sucked. Those are probably
you sound so bad. Yeah.
And it's like, you never trust a skinny cook. Don't trust a magician who just praises all your works. You want somebody that critiques you. And that's where immediately we became friends. And to this day, that's the greatest thing I can share, is that Scott Robinson is my friend. He's a mentor in magic. He is somebody who really cares about magic, cares about his friends. He's a family friend now. And so I'm glad to have him here with us today.
I have no idea what to say. That was so nice. That was so nice. I'm not sure about that underground legend thing. My wife started introducing me as an underground legend. That makes me, I started checking my life insurance to see if I'm like, you don't even know what that means. So
you have to have some mileage on your treads to
it means you're old. I get it. It does mean you're old, but it also means you've done magic that a lot of people don't know about, I think. So in many ways, I always say there's certain folks, even like Steve Beam, where if you know, but if you don't, you're not going to, unless somebody kind of invites you to the party, right? So Caleb, what did you say the title of this was?
So I cautiously titled it "The Secrets of Stage Magic and How We Can Use Them in Our Coin Magic," because I can't wrap my mind around the awesome stuff going on in your brain, Scott.
Yeah. All right, so it's not about doing coin magic on stage. That's
right.
Not what, kind of from a philosophy standpoint, one of the things I've noticed is coin magicians leverage the blocking and stagecraft of stage magicians more than card magicians do. That's not to say that some card magicians don't. I'm talking about close-up card magicians.
Say that again. Make sure we caught that.
Sure. That coin magicians leverage the blocking, directing, stagecraft of stage magicians more than other types of close-up magicians, meaning I'll call it, there's this classic coin magician pose, which is the quarter turn to the left, right? And we do that so we can hide things more successfully, right? And what do stage magicians do? They do a quarter turn to the left or right so hand can drop out of view, or so they can hide what they're doing, right? So I think there's a lot to be learned. And I'm lucky. I figured it out today. I figured out how many stage shows I did when I was doing theme parks, right? I wanted to find out because I did 6 shows a day, 6 days a week for 5 days, but not all months, not all weeks, only 30 weeks out of the year. But that's still over 5,000 stage shows.
Wow. Wow. How long were the shows?
So the shows were 20 minutes each.
Okay.
Right. But it was like a really, really important part because I was able to work with people who weren't magicians. I had a stage manager who watched every show and gave me feedback on every show, not on the magic, though, on how I moved, when I turned, when I had to walk up stage or down stage or off stage, how I managed that. Wow. So as I kind of matured, I started noticing that more and more of those things. And when I watched Jeff or Caleb or Rick do coin magic, or anyone, Danny, everyone, they do that turn. Then they'll turn back. They may have sweeping motions to hide. So these are all things from stagecraft. And I think it's because, if you think about coin magic, there aren't I'm going to say this and everyone's going to go, oh yeah, Scott, there are. But there aren't principles like card magic. In card magic, you have principles like Gilbreth's principle and, what happens when you pharaoh cards and all those different principles. But the main principle in coin magic is hiding something and revealing it.
There's got to be some math in there somewhere.
Maybe. But do you know what I'm saying? Everything we do, if we change a coin, we hide one coin, show another, we hide the one we're showing, and then we reveal it. It's kind of, that's our principle. So we have to be more clever in the way we hide. Max Maven said every magic trick is really just the one ahead principle. Coin magic absolutely it falls into that. So that's what I was talking about, is that how we move is different. I'm going to stand up here, but doing coin magic, card magicians do this all the time, right? Do the magic right here. You rarely see a coin magician do this. They usually turn this way and do whatever they're going to do, right? So I apply that a lot. Choreography, how do I say this? Choreography in coin magic is critical, in my opinion, to the successful delivery of coin magic, right? And I'm not talking about whether it's entertaining or not, right? That's a given. Things should be entertaining. But from a deception standpoint, I think choreography is key. If you've ever seen me do the trick differences, right, which has been around for 30 years, the choreography and where I put the coins and when I do my body turns and everything is the same every time, right? Card magic, though, sometimes I wing it, right? I know I need to do a double lift here. I know I need to do this, but I may be swinging back and forth with the audience talking to someone here or here. If I do that with coin magic, you're going to flash to somebody, right, when you're working with a group. So that's what I was talking about. So any questions?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I was actually thinking of the trick differences because and for anyone that doesn't know, that's the one with the purse, right? The coin purse.
That's the one with the purse. It's a asymmetrical transposition. 3 silver coins change place with 1 copper coin. It's beautiful. It leverages some some things from reverse matrix type techniques. I think I published it back I know exactly when I used it. I used it in 1982, the first time, in a close-up magic contest in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. That's the first time I ever did it for anyone.
That's the first time we met, was a close-up competition in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, I believe.
It was at Pigeon Forge, though. They had moved to Pigeon Forge, and you were in the stage contest and in the close-up contest.
In the close-up contest, and so was Shin Lim. And
Shin was there.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Now he's blown up.
Yeah, I know.
He used to return my phone calls.
He's not.
I hope he's watching because he never returns my calls anymore.
Well, what I want to
ask you just check differences though, which is this beautiful, like there is no confusion. It's a very clear cut, the most just well presented piece of table magic ever. And you just gave it all this technical explanation, which so you got to go out, people, and watch this video. I wish we had it. It's just beautiful. It's very simple and easy to follow. But
what I want to ask is differences is it's like you said, a table piece. So as you're thinking back to what you were saying about applying choreography and movement to the close-up magic, how can we go about thinking about that in a situation where we don't maybe have a set table, like where we're doing walk around and coin magic?
Don't you think the same thing applies though so let's think about classic 2-coin transposition in a walk around situation, right? That's something everyone does, some version of it or whatever. There's some challenges there, especially if your method uses a palm to palm change, right? That is vulnerable on your extreme left side.
Okay.
So if you're in a walk around situation and people are around you, you have to protect that. So how do you do it? There's 2 ways. One is you do that to the left body turn to speak to someone over here while you do the action. Or what I do is I break the circle. So let's say it's a circle. So if you take a step or 2 steps back. So I believe one of the things, and Jeff, we've talked about this before. I believe not in invading people's spaces, right? But in changing my relationship to how close I am to them. So when you step back, and I learned this from Jim Cellini, right? I only met him one time, but he talked about doing split fan productions on the street and how he did it. And what he would do is he would step back and break the circle. So he was slightly outside of the circle. And I think that's another way you could approach that type of problem is, you step back a little bit. Maybe you still have to do that turn, maybe not. But when you're doing those type of moves, especially so Magic has moved from the table up here, right? Thanks to you guys' generation, right? And probably Kenner started it, right? When he took Jonathan Townsend's trick and really brought it up here. So, but that changes everything because now,
Would you say Kenner or Kurt?
You're right. Kurt's had trio, right? The trick trio, which was definitely up here with a series of,
I just want to know because I've got you here. I'm trying to trace that stuff back. Someday I'll publish it.
So, Three Fly started with Jonathan Townsend's trick, right? Which had one sequence in it, my understanding. And I got this from Eric DeCamps. That's who told me about it. Some of the sequences were like this, but one of the sequences brought it up here and they were all visual, right? So, which I find interesting. And I think Chris basically made all three sequences up here. I have very strong opinions about Three Fly, which we're not going to talk about here.
Right. We don't want to talk about it. I was just because I was picking up on things like you mentioned Cellini, and you have this whole term for it, break the circle, because all of us guys talk about. There's some of us that have maybe more reinvented in the last few years and kind of even claim it as their own. But we know these are old ideas that street performers have been doing.
Here's my thing. If something comes about through common sense, you didn't create it.
Oh.
Right. There's too many people with common sense. So
that's kind of like do you think you came up with that line? That's a great line.
Right. I may have come up with the line, but I just think, things like stepping back or turning to the left, no one can claim that's just common sense, right?
There's like tension. I feel like if I don't step back or get in, like you're saying, that choreography poses, which are just in here, like alarms going off. Like something's going off in my head. It's just wrong if I'm not automatically, like you're right, a card magic trick or something where I'm not blocking angles. I can just be there. But if I'm not in those positions, how do I get there?
Which really means we have to be smart about when we do certain pieces of coin magic, right? A lot of card magic you can do you can figure out a way to do it, right? You can even modify the method on the fly with card magic. It's a little more difficult with coin magic to do that. So we're getting a little echo right now. Thank you, Rick. If it was you. Did you have something to add, Rick, since you came off of mute?
No, I just muted him because it was him. Okay. When we echo, it's usually Rick. I just assume.
Buy him a better microphone. So that's fun. So what else?
Let me jump in here. We got a question from our old friend over here, Mr. Chris Haga. What's up, Chris?
Hey.
Chris knows nothing about coins. He's given up on magic. All he does is design some really cool cards, but that's all he does. So I have a deck of Wonder cards here. I'm working on stuff with tricks cards. So so all your stuff is here. I'm trying to make some of Benny's Siamese waltz cards out of tricks cards so I can use them up at the canvas. So
man, everybody's getting shout outs today.
Shout out city here.
But let me get to this question because I think it's a good point. He says, would you say choreography can be choreography of the full body and at a micro level, like hand and coin placement? What do you think about that, Scott?
Yeah. So Chris already knows my answer to this, but so I choreograph two things. I choreograph three things. My physical body movements, the visible locations of objects that the customer sees. I'm still at work. That the audience sees, and I choreograph the location and movement of items that the audience does not see, right? And that's what Chris is talking about on the micro level. Because if you think about it, with the finger palm, sometimes it's advantageous to have it high, sometimes medium, and sometimes pretty low, right? Depending on what you're going to do. to me, that's part of the choreography, because the way you move that coin, up, down, left, right, etc., needs to be built into your overall body movement, right? I think I'm going to mention a card guy, but he also does some coin magic. To me, have you guys ever seen Ben Earl do coin magic?
Oh, phenomenal.
So what makes him different and better than me, right? Because he is.
Better than a lot of us.
He understands his natural body movements in real life better than anybody I know. So when he does something that would be unnatural, he understands his own body movement so well that he can make everything fit within that. Nothing looks like, oh, here's a good example. Nothing looks like he's doing a retention pass, even if he is, because it fits his body so well in his natural movements and the way his head tilts. And he's fantastic at reducing tension in his shoulders, right? Mm-hmm. So, when you look at someone like that, and I think that's always been kind of the thing I am constantly learning, is how to make little pieces that I do fit within my natural body language. I'm 58 now. I finally figured out what I think my character is probably about 15 years ago. But, once you do that, and we're going to see a video, which isn't I want to show it because it's theatrical, not because it's a great piece of coin magic. Everyone watching will go, oh yeah, that's just standard stuff. But I do want to share it in a little bit to see how you can take something standard, mix it up, add a little bit of your own secret sauce, and make it something audiences remember. And I'm not saying they remember it because I hope they remember it. I'm saying that because we have people that come back and ask for the trick, right? So, which is weird because it's just coins across. But
well, we can't. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I want to pause right there and say, because I think this is really interesting. We've mentioned this on the stream a couple of times before, talking about I always bring up Danny DeOrtiz because he is so natural in all of his movements, to the point of creating new sleights that we've never seen before based on how his body moves.
Right.
And it's just, that's why he fools magicians too. Cause it's like, you're seeing stuff you've never seen before. And my question for you, for anyone watching, is what would you think is maybe the best way to start getting into that mentality? Cause I remember reading that Vernon would sit there as people were coming out of like a movie theater or coming into a banquet hall and watch how they took their jackets off and how they grabbed things, just to understand the naturalness of people and what they naturally do. What have you, I guess, developed over your, I think you said 58 years to
I'm old. Yeah.
to get that naturalness going for yourself,
I don't know if I understand the question, Caleb.
Just like what did you do when you started learning like you need to be natural to your own self? How does someone become a Ben Earl or the way you've developed natural movements to yourself?
Okay. So when I say this, it's going to be disappointing to a lot of people.
It's okay.
We want the truth.
I think some people it comes natural for, and some people it will never come for. Right? Oh. Everyone is not built to be as we define coin magicians. That's not to say they can't do coin magic in their show, right? Because we have plenty of things that help us now, right? And they can be fantastic performers. But that lightness of touch, and I mean, we've all seen magicians that are heavy-handed. They work on it, but it just never quite looks right. I don't know why. I think it's, some sleights just don't look right in people's hands. They never do. And part of it, I think, is the way we're built, right? Some people have super thick fingers. And so if you've seen old videos of Eddie Fechter, no one would say he was not entertaining, but you also would not say he was a coin technician, right? Because he could, he actually had a light touch for such a big man, but you would never say he was a technician. So I think practice matters, right? And the way you practice, and feedback matters. You guys know how important I think peer feedback on a consistent basis, not every now and then, but every week, people pointing out how you should change and move.
But
I'm going to talk about. I see Bob Taylor's trying to be funny over here.
Yeah, he is.
By asking about the toe point, but for me, it's something I learned in theme parks. So there's this. Can I stand up?
Please.
Okay. All right. So there's this idea. I see coin magicians do this a lot, and I'm trying not to do it the right way or the way I think is the right way. They do this, or let's say there's a servant here and they need to ditch something. They'll kind of bend down. So right. As opposed to what I do is you'll see me do I point my toe a lot. So I'm pivoting and pointing my toe. But what that does is it naturally brings my hand down. Right. So behind the table, people see nothing. All my friends are laughing at me and counting the toe points. But that is different. I'm a short person. It also gets my body in an upright position, even though I'm kind of dropping down, as opposed to leaning over. I know Jeff, me and you have talked about tall magicians and the challenge they have, which is kind of the opposite, right? They're so concerned about being tall that sometimes they slump over, right? But I do the toe point, and that manages my pivoting. It also manages my height above the table without me bending my knees, because basically I'm spreading out my legs, which brings my center of gravity down lower. So it really is, it is funny. You know, the guys, until they started seeing me do a lot of shows, they didn't know I did that. But it came from working theme parks. And it also puts you in the position to move in that direction. If your feet are straight, you have to, it's two motions to turn, where if you're pointing one toe in that direction, even if the other one's straight, the other leg just naturally follows in that direction. So there's a lot of advantages to it, but about the magic of toe points. But
I think it's great. I agree exactly what you're saying. Like, some sleights are never to look good to take a full circle, and some because of my height, a Gotchman pinch, a lot of backhanded type moves are not going to work in my hands because people are looking up at me, and so those kind of things. And I get that completely, but I think what you're saying there is, like, I think if more people, maybe I'm a little bit opposed on this, but with respect, I think if more people understood what you're talking about there, because when you mention choreography, I think footwork. I think
there's a lot of footwork.
Moving your feet. And my kids get a choice to play any sports except for American football. We're not doing concussions, and they can play anything they want, but they have to play soccer because it's the beautiful sport and it teaches footwork. And so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they get a year or two of soccer and to learn some footwork and, to use your feet that way. Because I think it's so important, everything in life, any other sport, but just communication. So,
and again, more instruction on that footwork is in the 5 points of magic from one to
it's absolutely, there's a lot in there. He doesn't talk about the toe point, but he absolutely talks about foot position based on what the next movement is going to be. Right. So,
but I want to ask you, Scott, were you the one that told me that there was everyone needs to find their natural gesture? Like, everybody has like one natural gesture that you do.
Yeah, I think we have more than one, but yes, I do. I think you need to let your friends be critical and tell you the stuff you're doing that maybe even irritates them, because you see my hands come together a lot, right? When I'm just talking, you know how useful that is in all magic. Right. And the fact that I do it when I'm not doing anything. I have a new coin routine I'm doing in the show now, which is about how I got into magic. And it's about my grandfather. It's part truth, part fabrication, right? It's theater, right? But the first thing I do is show my hands empty and then produce a coin from behind an adult's ear. It's right. And it happens because my hands naturally come together, right? It would not be a good trick. It would be, oh, he's hiding a coin in his hand, as opposed to me saying, I was 5 years old and my grandfather told me, right? You see, guys, see what I'm saying? And then I produced the coin from here. So I was 5 years old and he said, come over here. And he reached by, blah, 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 right? So that's choreography that I'm also talking about, is those natural body movements. Rick, you have something?
Yeah, it's not a question, but I just wanted to express the thought to people that how important choreography is. And I haven't had the opportunity like you and Jeff, performing so many times in public, but as soon as I got into some choreography with my coin magic, I realized how foundational it was and how it could change the course of a routine, the timing, the rhythm, uh, whether it looked convincing or less convincing, depending on when and where you decided to move or turn. That became more of a priority for me as I learned more and more coin magic. Before I learned the sleights and how the trick worked, you got to get all that, but immediately start implementing choreography to make maybe a sketchy sleight look even better because of when you did it and where you were when you did it.
I think that's actually an interesting topic, which makes me, I'm going to tie it into card magic a little bit.
Please.
You guys know I'm good friends with Steve Beam, right?
Mhm.
Real good friends.
All right.
I always pick on him. I give him a hard time.
Well, he picks on you too, though.
He does more than I pick on him. I do it behind the scenes, right? But my feeling is you shouldn't add verbal misdirection, right? Until you're sure your method is solid, right? Steve, though, he's so good at telling stories and creating creative pattern that he can cover the biggest flaws in tricks because of his script, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? He absolutely can. And I think, so for me, Rick, I think those I'll call them physical misdirection moments, right? The choreography pieces that we're doing to help hide a method. I think they're super important, but I think there's a place when you add them. And it's probably after you figured out what the strongest method you can do is. And you guys are probably like me. I don't think every method's equal. Some methods are better than other methods, right? As far as the final effect on the audience. But once you dial in on that, that's when you start going, okay, this is the weakness. Here's a weakness of this trick. And here's a change in choreography, the change in words, the change in timing that we can do to make it seem a little more deceptive, which at the end of the game, I think that's what the game is, deception. So
that's kind of what I meant too, is like even the methodology might change depending on if you reduce the amount of choreography or increase the amount. You obviously want the most economical method. So when that is whittled down to what it can be, then you add the choreography to patch over the weaknesses, like you said.
Yeah. So for me, I want the choreography, the method, and the presentation to do only one thing: highlight the effect. That's the only, at the end of the day, when I'm asking tons of different questions of my magic or someone else's, I finally have to get to, is what we're doing making the effect that we are after as strong as possible, and does it highlight it?
And what do you mean by effect?
So I do not think vanishing a coin is an effect, okay? But I'm going to use it as an example, right? Okay. To the audience, the effect is a coin is placed in my hand, and with no apparent action, the hand is open and the coin is gone, right?
Okay.
It's really important for me for them not to go, oh, we could have put it in the other hand. I have to cancel that out, right? If my method usually apply a lot of canceling techniques, but to me, that's the effect. It's not the plot, right? The plot weaves a story, right? I'm talking about it, that moment, that important moment where people see or feel magic. And and you were to interview them right after it, and they were say, my card vanished in a puff of smoke, right? Whatever they say, right? To me, everything needs to point to that. It may not be true for certain type. I think comedy magicians, really good comedy magicians, have they maybe have a different path. But you look at Matt King, pretty funny dude. People are right after things. People can pretty quickly say his thumbs were tied together, and all of a sudden it was through a chair, right? It's all his choreography leads to them coming to the conclusion he wants them to. And I think this is important. You must know what conclusions you want them to draw.
Cool.
If you're not clear on what conclusions you want them to draw, then how can you lead them down the path to come to those conclusions? That's
exactly. Wow.
Yeah. So we have a lot of questions. You guys want to?
Yeah, I'm gonna give
it. This is just so riveting.
It's so good. I want to say real quickly too. I did hear Colin Cloud say it a really good way. He said, "You got to think. What do you want the Yelp reviews to say after the show?"
Interesting.
And I thought that was a cool idea. So we got a few questions here. Matt, good to see you. Great to see Scott on the show. Shares unique coin work with the Copeland community. It's good to see you, Matt. Thanks for that. Josh, good to see you, Josh. What's up, buddy? Let's see. Matthew has a question here. Can you talk a little bit about the differences in vocalization between performing on stage and close up?
So I don't think it has anything to do with coin work, right?
That's fine.
There is a difference in vocalization. Here's the thing I would say to look out for. I think close-up work, it's easier to be a little more like yourself, right? So at the Magic Canvas, my wife's business, we have magicians come in, a lot of great magicians, and some are very over the top, and some are more subdued, and some are somewhere in the middle. Here's what I've noticed in a small place where we do 40, 50 people, small, intimate space. The over the top people, it takes a little longer for the audience to get comfortable, right? So if you're an actor, right? If you're that type of performer, you have to realize it takes the employee, it takes the spectator longer. I just got off of phone calls, right? So, so it takes longer. So to me, yes, you should know how to speak, how to talk from your diaphragm and all that stuff. But I think what's more important is it needs to sound, whether you're on stage or close up, it needs to sound like it's coming from an authentic voice. I didn't say your voice. I didn't say your natural voice. I said your authentic voice.
Authentic.
And that can be, depending on your skills, that can be different. So, because authenticity is really what we're all after as performers, right? Even if we play a character, we want the audience to feel a connection, an authentic connection. So that's what I would say. If you're on stage, people need to hear you, but hopefully you have assistance with that. I think that authentic voice is really what you want. And that feels different in an intimate setting than on stage. I don't know if there's a set of rules that go with it, but that's what I would say is you have to figure out when I was theme parks, right? Everything was, so some of the things I was taught that was wrong. You've seen theme park shows. The best in the world, they all look the same, right? Big smiles, big motions, jazz hands, all that stuff, right? And there's a reason, because they're trying to make something small seem bigger than it is, right? I think when it comes to our voice, though, that's a different thing. It's got to be authentic. Okay, I babbled.
Good.
I love that, man. I think that ties back into everything you're talking about, the difference between like coin magic and stuff. We have these built-in things versus cards you can jazz more, and that performer that's more aware of his environment, but still authentic. That's
for sure.
That's gold, man.
And Watt kind of mentioned
we charge for admission today because we should have. I feel like
Watt kind of mentioned that you're public speaking and feeling more comfortable. Just that practice. I mean, you said you've done over, was it 5,000 shows?
That was 5,000 shows, and that was in a 5-year period when I was an infant, right? I was 18 to 5 years later, 23, right? That's a pretty impressionable time, right? So it was best thing I ever did. Right. Looking back, I was horrible. I have video. I was horrible. I was doing stock lines, and Jeff, all you guys know how I feel about hack lines. I watch those shows and I just cringe. Right. But it taught me the important lessons of being in front of people. And what we do, I love to practice, and I would rather practice than perform, but it doesn't become magic till you perform it for somebody.
Could you be where you are today if you hadn't gone through that phase?
No, I couldn't even be at Microsoft without that training.
Wow.
My job has led me to present in front of, people that you would pee a little, right? If you had to present in front, I used to do presentations for Bill Gates and the executive committee. I just treated it like a show.
Wow.
Right. Same way I do now. So
That's awesome. We got a couple of the questions here, if we can. First off, real quick, any recommended reading for coin magic choreography?
Yeah. I don't know of anything. I don't. I think that is where you need people. We haven't talked about Slight Club, but the group in Charlotte, Slight Club, where we get together every week, and we're expected to bring the same thing we working on till we get it to the right place. Having people with different viewpoints give you feedback, not just on the effectiveness of the method, but your choreography, etc. I also think it's super important that you not just use magicians. Many times I see a show and I go, they could use a director, not a magic director. They could use a director, right? Just to smooth out those transitions, to make that movement from one side of the stage, the way they go into the audience and make sure people can still see them, right? We've all seen that where people go into the audience and they disappear to everybody except the people right around them, things like that. So, Walter mentions public speaking and doing theater. Yeah, it is kind of interesting that the amount of people that do magic that have been in a play, right? Even a high school play, it's itty bitty.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Compared to the vast majority. It's not for everyone. I think part of it is because a large part of our community, probably my favorite part of our community, is closet magicians. They love the work. They come up with great ideas. They have little or no interest in doing shows, but they do shows for friends, family out. Right. So I think that's why, but
and he already mentioned, actually, Scott, you mentioned Ben Earl. We've talked about Danny D'Ortiz. Those are good guys to study as well for that. One more question that was up here: is there a good way you know of to compensate for large windows with the finger?
I have itty bitty hands, right? I have the opposite problems of people that have long fingers and all that. I do know this when
I haven't answered this question.
When I'm at my perfect weight, I have little windows. But if I curl my finger, oh wow, Jeff, that's terrible.
I have a lot of windows.
Take up balloon animals.
No, I'm the same way.
Yeah. So actually, but if you do this, if you curl your fingers in a little bit, Caleb, they start filling in, right?
That helps. But I do have an interesting take for this. Speaking of Ben Earl, I was learning he has a trick where he has a coin transposition from one hand to the other. If you've seen it, if you haven't, you're missing.
I do a version ring. So yes, it's a fantastic trick.
It's a great trick, but he uses a specific palm that I can't use because my window is so massive. And so all I did was I just shifted the palm to a different part of my hand. And if you know the trick, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but
I do.
It requires a different grip, and it's unfamiliar, but it's just like what we were talking about. Take the moves and make them natural to your body, right?
Yeah, Ben's uses the Moret grip or purse palm, whatever you want to call it, and he does it without pausing. I can't, right? He gets a super flat hand, but as I was examining it, if we look at that super flat hand, guys, what is perfect for us? To me, when I was examining, I was like, why is this thing knotting thumb clip? Do you know what I'm saying? That's exactly the same flat hand, and that's there was less tension for me when I went into thumb clip as well.
That's interesting. So, just playing around with this stuff. John Carney talks about that. Play with the stuff. Play with the moves over and over. Try different things. Caleb Sigmund's in here. What's up, Caleb? He says, Scott's affirming my belief that theater and magic are the same. Beats, moments, pacing, tempo, staging, composition, transitions, engagement, the list goes on. So that's
Caleb is a fantastic performer. If you guys don't know him, first, he's our favorite Santa. And second, he has real background in theater. He performs in shows here in Charlotte and surrounding areas, doing Bert from Mary Poppins to you name it, Captain Hook and Peter Pan. He knows how to. He has skills I'll say me, I won't say you guys, but me, I don't have, right? He really can do characters. He does his family show at the Magic Canvas every now and then. And there is one moment that truly feels like you are somewhere else, right?
Really?
And it's a chop cup routine, all right? I'm just telling you, he's, because of his background and his approach to things, he's able to take something mundane and somewhat trivial in most hands and make it where people are leaning in and caring about what he's doing. So
That's great. Now, before we move on, I think you had something you wanted to show. Can you show that video real quick?
Sure. So let me preface it. I think you need to mute me or you'll get feedback, is what you told me. So let me talk before.
Yeah.
So when I decided to show a video, I was like, I'm going to go get the best version of this, of me doing it, because I've done this trick a lot. And then I was like, what? That is like the wrong way of doing this, right? This has a few hiccups. Not the trick comes off great as far as the audience is concerned, but I'm not my best here. This isn't the best performance ever. It's somewhere in the middle. All right. So it's a coins across, classic 4 coins across, with a little window dressing and some technique pieces I think you guys might like.
But we can look out for the theatricality and the choreography here.
Yes.
Okay.
All
Perfect.
Right. All right. So I'm sharing my screen. Make sure I share the right one.
That's awesome. Quentin, good to see you, buddy. The real work. Yes, sir.
Can you bring that in, Caleb? There we go.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he was my biggest fan. Let me show you a picture of him. This is him. His name was Raymond Pierce Gammon. My son is named Pierce. Shane, my brother's middle name. He was a police officer in Charlotte for 30 years. He was in the Navy. And as I mentioned, he was my biggest fan, to the point where I hated it. You know, when your parents or your grandparents tell everyone how great you are, and then you miss it. So I always say he or I was the clay, and he was the potter, right? He made me who I am. He also made something for me, which I'm going to share with you. This. Not the plate. That came from my grandmother's kitchen, actually, but that little purse. It's a simple purse. It's a piece of leather, crudely folded over and stitched. Nothing special. I'll continue this in a second. I need a couple people to help me. So, would you mind coming up and sharing this with me? I promise I will be no embarrassment. You sit here. Please fix this for you, and you here. Now you are in a very special seat. So I ask questions all the time, like, what is the job of a magician, right? And for me, it's to leave people with a little wonder, even for a small amount of time. You, at one point, if you listen, you get to see in her eyes what I get to do, see when I do magic. You're going to see wonder and amazement. All you have to do is listen, smile. Okay? That's it. It's very easy. You guys ready? He put 4 coins in here and said, one of these days, maybe you'll come up with something to do with it. Does this feel like one of those days? I think it does. These coins are from when he was born.
You won't believe it.
1912.
Stranger,
Right around the time.
sounds extraordinary. Magic follows you around, and the camera can't catch it. You won't see it in the mirror. If I say look behind you, you turn around, it disappears. I see it, I see it. I swear I do, I see extraordinary.
We're going to do this one.
Out of thin air, you perfectly coloring a world of black and white. My heart was hot inside a box. You reached inside, and now I see my future when I look into it. I see it. When I do, I see extraordinary magic in you. I know that me. Was nothing short of a miracle happening over and over
Just open your eyes.
every day.
Here we go. I'm going to press, and you close your hand. Press, close. Perfect. Stay right there.
So I'll keep my eyes open, awed and amazed, and if you start to doubt it, I'll remind you of the million ways I see it.
Thank you.
Nice.
Man,
18 toe points. I counted.
it's so good. You gotta unmute yourself, Scott.
It also helped me lower when I needed to. So I obviously get rid of the shell coin at the end. But yeah, we can talk about this, but I want to tell you kind of, this is a performing philosophy of mine. And I think only some of the Slight Club people know this, but it's kind of my approach to doing magic for people in general. And it's my most important thing. Let me stop sharing my screen here. I view magic like Christmas, meaning everything I put together, I treat it like it's a gift that I've wrapped. And I'm imagining how I want the people when they open, like if my son opens a gift, you have this expectation of how they're going to react. And you do everything you can to get that reaction from them, right? For me, every time they open something up, that's that gift that I've given them. And I'm hoping, if I've done the right thing, that they feel the way I want them to feel. This is one where it's really about me sharing what's that important. This is my favorite trick to do in the show, and it's the easiest thing to do, right? But I feel like they get to experience for a few minutes what magic can feel like and how it can mean different, how it can affect people. So to me, it's about that opening gift, figuring out what the gift is, how it's wrapped, right? How long it's going to take them to unwrap it, and what their reactions are going to be when they finally see what you gave them. So
I love that. And you can say, you guys can watch that back after this is over here. You can replay and watch Scott's performance, see all the little points where he's putting that philosophy into play. We only have like a couple minutes here, so I just want to plug the things about the canvas for you here, Scott, because it's super cool. People need to check that out. I had the link here. This is the magiccanvas.com, themagiccanvas.com. You want to talk about that for a second, Scott?
Sure. It is, it's kind of two things. It combines kind of our family's love of creativity and art and my love of magic. And we created it because some of you guys know, and I would love for you to go watch the video, the video I did about my son Shane, who's autistic. It's on YouTube. It's called Our Journey. It's a little magic thing, but we built it because he loves magic and he loves comedy and he loves all these things. And as a parent, you're always wondering, what is he going to do, right? Where is he going to find his purpose, right? So we're hoping that this venue will give him the opportunity to have a place, right? That's the number one reason. A place to work, a place to share. I would love for him to he loves performing, so I'd love for him to do some stuff. But it's a sip and paint by day and during the week, and then 1 or 2 weekends a month it turns into this what you just saw. That is at the Magic Canvas, a little theater, 40 to 50 people is max, and we do shows for grown-ups, and we do on Sundays we do family matinees. We bring in different children's performers like Caleb Sigmund, who was on here, and Dave Rasmussen. We've had fantastic performers. We're always looking for headliners. I do need to know you, and I do need to know how good your show is, because let me tell you, you're competing against Boris Wilde and the Allens and Dan Harlan and Bob Taylor and all these people that have these fantastic shows. Eric DeCamps, the Wagsters, right? So, the show has to be a show, not a series of tricks, I guess is what I'm looking for. So, but we've had fantastic stuff. So
it's a great place to see magic and to be a part of what you're saying, all the different influences and seeing different things there. And one more thing, plug your book. You got your book there besides.
Yeah, please share the book.
This is my book. Vanishing Ink put it out a couple years ago in 2019, November 2019. It was released. My wife's a photographer as well, so she did all the photographs. I think it's the prettiest book you'll ever see. This is a purple satin cover. It's gorgeous. But I hope people like the material. 40% of it is coin magic. Some things I really love in there. And I hate we didn't have time to talk about it. Next time we'll talk about things like wild coins and, a theatrical approach to that and different things. So,
I mean, we can have you back.
Yes.
I hope so. I had a great time.
What about the convention?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I run tricks. So when I say I run it, I put it together, but really Slight Club does all the hard work of running a convention when it starts. This year it's November 3rd through 5th. I have only announced the guests of honor. Sometime like the 10th year, I didn't announce anybody, right? It's the type of convention that's going to sell out because people don't. I realized a long time ago, yes, people like good talent, right? That's important. But that's the glue that holds together the community. You build a community and people are going to come just to be part of the community, right? The lectures and the shows are so when we're hanging out, we have stuff to talk about, right? It's not the main thing. So I've only announced the guest of honor, who is Steve Beam this year. But I will let you guys, I'll give you a couple other folks that are booked. Michel Holt from Canada, the guy that created socks, he's booked. Kayla Dresser, who is a fantastic performer. She was in the Traveling Champions of Magic show. She's going to be there. Eric Jones is going to be representing on the coin magic side.
All right.
So I still have a few more to announce, but since
here's a common idea by Matt. When you come back, you can make some announcements.
Well, that was it right there. None of us knew any of that stuff already. That's fantastic.
I try to keep it. I have. So I'll give you one more because this guy's one of my favorite performers and thinkers in all of magic, and that's John Allen from the UK.
Oh,
yeah. So we're trying to work out his visa, but we'll get it done. We've done it before, so it's shaping up to be really a fantastic convention. But
awesome. We heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Thank you so much for sharing all that, Scott. Everybody go check out all these different things. Be around everything Scott's doing.
Oh, I didn't teach that trick. I didn't teach that thing. Yeah, okay, so we'll save it for next time.
We'll have you back. We'll have you back.
Yeah. All right, guys. All right.
But thank you guys. Thank you so much, Scott, for everything. Thank you guys for being here. Go take this and stuff and incorporate the choreography in your magic and go make beautiful magic. We'll see you next week.